The water in front of you is too still. That's the first thing wrong with this picture. You're standing on the railing of the Mosasaurus feeding show observation deck in Jurassic World, that famous 3 million gallon saltwater lagoon by Main Street. And the great white shark dangling from the crane just stopped twitching. The crowd is still cheering. You're not. Because you just realized the trainers haven't dropped the bait yet, which means whatever made that shark stop moving is already underneath you. You have about 4 seconds before it comes up. Before you make the wrong call, do yourself a favor and hit subscribe to the Mythos Explainer, because today we figure out, using actual paleontology and actual Jurassic World canon, exactly how you'd survive a Mosasaurus attack. Here's what you're dealing with. The thing under that water is not a dinosaur. It's not even close. Mosasaurus is a giant marine lizard, a squamate, meaning its closest living cousins are monitor lizards and snakes. That single fact decides how this fight goes. The real animal, Mosasaurus hoffmanni, maxed out somewhere between 36 and 56 feet, depending on which paleontologist you ask. The Jurassic World version, bigger. Closer to 60 feet, weighing around 15 tons, kept in a tank designed for sharks. You are not in a lagoon. You are in a swimming pool with a school bus in it. Then the water moves. Then it moves again. Then the bleachers start descending. Yeah, congratulations. You bought the cheap tickets. The ones where the entire platform sinks below the waterline so you can watch through glass. Except the glass is now the only thing between you and roughly 15 tons of muscle closing on a shark the size of your car. And the cable on the bait just snapped. Okay, decision time. The pteranodons broke loose from the aviary 30 seconds ago. You weren't told that, but they did, because in Jurassic World, everything is always failing at once. And one of them just hit the lagoon. The Mosasaurus breaches. You are now on a half-flooded tribune, watching a 50-foot lizard swallow a flying reptile in one bite, exactly the way it ate Zara in the original movie. And it has seen you. This is where most people die. Most people run for the exit. Don't. The real Mosasaurus had a narrow binocular vision overlap, about 28.5 degrees, meaning its eyes were optimized to process flat, near-surface movement, and erratic running across its visual field is the exact silhouette it's tuned to chase. Move slow. Move low. Crouch behind the railing and put solid steel between you and that eye. Mosasaurus had a poor sense of smell, almost no olfactory bulb to speak of in Emil Hoffmanni. So as long as you're not bleeding and you're not splashing, you are basically a shape. Right now, your job is to be a boring shape. You stop moving. The eye loses you. You think you're safe. You're not. You just leveled up to the part of the day where it gets worse. Because the lagoon gates are open. They were left open in Fallen Kingdom when the mercenaries went down for the Indominus bone, canon, and the Mosasaurus left, came back, ate the sub, and escaped to the open ocean. So in this version of the disaster, you're not just dealing with a thing in a tank. You're dealing with a thing that knows the tank, knows the tourists, knows that humans dangle from things and fall in. And it is now in shallow water. Which seems like good news. It is not good news. Real mosasaurs were warm-blooded, endothermic, confirmed by oxygen isotope analysis on fossil bones from Alabama. So unlike a regular reptile, this animal does not need to bask, does not get sluggish in cold currents, and can hunt at night. You don't get a tired Mosasaurus. You get a Mosasaurus on a thermostat. Pause real quick. Comment below. Would you actually have stayed crouched on that platform, or would you have bolted for the exit? I want to read every answer, because the next part is where most of you are going to die. The Mosasaurus is not chasing you. That's the trick. It's an ambush predator. Its keeled, non-reflective scales, confirmed from Jordanian fossils with preserved skin imprints, were literally evolved for one job: to sit invisible in the water column and explode upward in a single burst. So, when it disappears under the surface, that is not, phew, it's gone. That is the loaded gun phase. It's now beneath you, looking up. You against the bright sky. You silhouetted like every shark, every turtle, every plesiosaur it ate for 40 million years. You are the right shape, in the right place at the wrong time. So, you do the thing nobody in any Jurassic movie ever does. You stop being a silhouette. You climb onto something. The catwalk above the lagoon, the broken bleacher rail, the support beam, anything that breaks your outline against the sky. Mosasaurus had its eyes on the sides of its skull, optimized for a flat two-dimensional read of the surface. Vertical structures confuse that read. Now, the burst. You hear it before you see it. The surface of the lagoon flexes upward, like a drum being hit from underneath. That's the Mosasaurus accelerating. A 2024 study modeling its swimming concluded the animal could hit roughly 30 miles an hour in a single second, using a tail fluke very similar in function to a shark's, only inverted. 30 miles an hour, straight up, 15 tons, mouth open, 60 teeth. 2 extra rows on the roof of its mouth, the pterygoid teeth, so even if you somehow got past the front of the bite, the second set is what walks you down its throat like a conveyor belt. Snakes do this. Snakes can do it because their jaws hinge twice. Mosasaur jaws also hinge twice. That's not a coincidence. That's family resemblance. Quick decision, no thinking. Do you try to dive sideways into the water, or do you stay frozen on the beam and hope it commits to the wrong shape? Comment below. A or B? Because what comes next changes depending on which you'd pick. Most people pick A. Most people are wrong. Here's why staying still wins. The Mosasaurus can't hover. Once it commits to that vertical strike, it has to come down. Real mosasaurs were heavy, and the Jurassic World version is heavier. When it breached for the Indominus Rex in 2015, the impact alone shattered the lagoon railing and beached the animal in the process. So, if you stay glued to that vertical structure, and the lizard misjudges your distance by even a foot, it overshoots, hits the deck, and slams back into the water under its own weight. That's your one window. That's the only one you get. While it's belly flopping, you're moving. Not toward the open exit, toward the lagoon side maintenance corridors. Why? Because Mosasaurus in canon has beached itself to bite once already, and you have to assume it can do it again. The worst place you can be is the wide open observation deck. The best place is anywhere with a low ceiling. Concrete, steel, anything it can't fit its head into. You don't outrun it. You out-architecture it. And then, finally, the water. Because in any version of this story, you eventually end up in the water. That's just how Jurassic World stories work. Maybe you fall. Maybe a pteranodon grabs you and drops you, like Zara. Maybe the boat tips over, like the Delgado family in Jurassic World Rebirth. Doesn't matter. You're wet now. So here's what real shark attack research from National Geographic and from divers who survived ambush attacks says to do. And all of it applies here. Don't splash. Splashing imitates a wounded fish. And that's a feeding trigger across every marine predator that's ever existed. Don't bleed. Even with a weak nose, motion plus blood is a kill signal. Get vertical, get against a wall. Anything that takes your flat human silhouette and breaks it into a shape the predator's narrow binocular field can't lock onto. And if it commits anyway, because at 15 tons and 50 feet, it might just decide you're worth the effort, you go for the eye. Not the snout, not the jaw, not the teeth, the eye. Mosasaurus had relatively large eye sockets with large scleral rings, which means a lot of exposed soft tissue. That tissue is fragile. That tissue is everything. That's the only weapon you have, and it only works once. You don't kill it. Let's be honest with each other. You were never going to kill it. This animal survived months in a half-empty lagoon, with nothing to eat after the park collapsed, then survived the open Pacific, then showed up 10 years later to capsize a sailboat in Rebirth, where it now hunts in coordination with a pack of Spinosaurus, because apparently surviving one apex predator wasn't on theme anymore. You don't beat a Mosasaurus, you annoy it enough to get deprioritized. And here's the saddest, weirdest part of this whole thing. In real life, you wouldn't have to do any of this. The actual Mosasaurus hoffmanni died 66 million years ago. When an asteroid hit what's now the Yucatan, the oceans acidified, the food chain collapsed, and the largest marine lizard that ever lived went down with the curtain on the Cretaceous. The first skull pulled out of a Dutch chalk quarry near Maastricht in 1780, before the word paleontology even existed, was the fossil that helped Georges Cuvier convince the world that extinction was real. Mosasaurus is iconic for one reason. It taught us that things end. Then we made a movie franchise that brings it back. Then we built a theme park that puts it on a leash. Then the leash slipped. So honestly, be real with yourself. At which exact moment in this video would you have died? Comment the number below. I'm reading every single one. And if you made it all the way to the end, hit subscribe to the Mythos Explainer, because the next video is how you'd survive a Spinosaurus ambush in the Ile Saint-Hubert River. Because in case you missed it, in Jurassic World Rebirth, the Mosasaurus and the Spinosaurus hunt together now. So no, you're not done.